What does the field hockey team need to do to get their program back on track next year? Should the men's ice hockey team feel secure in their goalie? Our analysts discuss that and more, plus a live interview with women's soccer defender Kylie Lance. Bobcat Breakdown starts right now. Welcome to Bobcat Breakdown. I'm your host, Shannen Tierney, and joining me on the desk are two of my favorite people to watch debate, Tom Krosnowski and Will Fowler. How are you doing tonight, guys?
Shannen, I'm great, but as good as I'm feeling, I think I'm going to be feeling a little bit better in half an hour in the show.
I'm going to be feeling great after I wipe the floor with Will, just like I did last time. He wanted this rematch, he got it.
All right, let's get started with field hockey. This Saturday, Becca Main recorded her 200th career win. The milestone was one of the only positives to come out of the season. They went 1-5 in the conference, and with just one game left, they will not make the playoff. Guys, what does Becca Main need to do to get this group back on track for next year?
Well, I want to get started by saying I don't think I blame any of the team's lack of success this year on Becca Main. I think she's a tremendous coach, just got her 200th win, so congratulations to that. She's been the head of this program, so I don't blame any of this on her. I think it's more so on the players not getting the job done. She's been exasperated a little bit in some of her interviews, as Brian Schwartz mentioned last week in his roar. So I think they need to really evaluate their midfielders moving forward, because they've lost a lot of them now. Eliza and Ines Ruiz-Martinez were the mainstays of the program at the midfield, and they're both going to be gone after next year. And Bianca Strube, the team's best player, is also a midfielder, and she's going to be gone after this year. So the midfield is going to be completely overhauled. Whether that's developing a player like Jess Halley or Ava Veldhorst, or whether that's recruiting, they're going to need to find somebody to take over in the midfield. I think the goaltending is finally in great shape. They've got two really good goaltenders who are both freshmen, so they got a lot of years left. And I think the goal scorers, Capello, Sinaboldi, Brooke Whipke, they all have good snipes in their game as well. They just need somebody to set them up. So for me, moving forward, if the team can get a couple more impact midfielders to replace the Ruiz-Martinez sisters and Strube, I think they'll be in a good spot.
Yeah, I agree with you in that sense. Obviously, none of this is on Becca Main per se. Obviously, 200 wins is an incredible accomplishment, and again, congratulations to her for that 200th win. Where I disagree with you is where the rebuild starts. And I want to first preface this by saying I don't think this is just a put a Band-Aid on it type of thing. I think this is a multi-year overhaul of the program. And I think it starts with the defense. I know the midfield too. The midfield, you like that as a pick because they're losing other pieces. The reason why I like the defense is because the pieces are already there, and it's just a matter of developing them. The defense is at or near the bottom of every major statistical category, and to be fair, so is the offense. But that's the big difference, is that the defense already has the pieces in place, and it's just about developing them. Amanda Funaro, Michaela Dugan, Jess Halley, they're all defenders who return. They were 3 of the top 5 in minutes as far as this team is concerned. You mentioned the 2 freshman goalies. I think if we're talking about where this rebuild starts, it's with the defense because it's going to be the quickest to fix. It's just a matter of implementing a strategy than it is recruiting and bringing new players and adapting them to the system. If it starts somewhere, I agree that maybe the midfield is the most important to develop, but if it starts somewhere, it's with the defense.
The midfielders, the best ones for me, they're point guards. They direct traffic, they set up passes, they run the offense and the defense. I think that's where it's got to start. I think the defense, like you said, there's some tools there, but midfield's completely empty after this year. They got to fix that for me.
Yeah, guys, there's a lot of places where they can improve. But let's move into another fall sport, soccer. We'll start with the women's team, who tied their last game to Manhattan and lost the game before to Iona. Do you guys find this concerning going to the last game of the season with playoffs approaching?
I think this question is kind of funny because it's a very short-sighted question. You referenced the loss and the tie, but we've conveniently left out the 3 wins prior to that. This is a team that has conceded 2 goals in its last 5 games. They've taken 10 points from 15. This is I understand that the goal scoring maybe hasn't been there as of late, but this is just a defensive-oriented conference. There are only 3 teams out of 11 that average over a goal and a half a game. So defense really is key. And Quinnipiac, maybe aside from Monmouth, who are on a completely other level, maybe might have the best in the entire conference. Sure, the offense is in a rut, but like I said, this is a defense that is unbelievably talented. And like I said, with the field hockey question, defense is what wins you championships. Let's take a look at some of the more frustrating losses this season. 1-0 win over St. Peter's, 22 shots. 1-1 draw to Manhattan, their most recent game, 18 shots. The loss to Marist a couple weeks back, 1-0 loss, 16 shots. So it's not like they're not getting shots on goal. They are, and goalies are having the games of their lives in preventing Quinnipiac from getting on the scoreboard. If we're talking about this team heading forward, I mean, the defensive record really couldn't be better. Like I said, 2 goals in their last 5 games, 10 points in their last 15. Now, if this form continues against Siena, maybe, but I'm not concerned right now.
I agree with you to an extent. We can't analyze a small sample size, but at the same time, just want to be careful to avoid limping into the playoffs. If they were to lose to Siena, there'll be 3 straight losses going into the playoffs, and no team ever wants that. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think they are going to beat Siena and get back on track. You mentioned the defense has been playing stellar, and that's not a concern with this team. Phillips has been great in goal all year. The defense prevents shots at an elite level, but they do got to get a little more goal scoring, I think, for me going into the playoffs. The leading goal scorers in this team, there's 4 of them. They each have 3. They could use maybe one lead dog to score a little bit more, and the offense has gone a little bit dry recently, just 2 goals in the last 3 games. But I just want to preface all that again by saying it is just a small sample size. We've seen this team be better this year. I think they're going to beat Siena in that last game of the season. After these 2, the loss and the tie, they had won 3 games before that. They're riding high against a possible playoff team, 2 no less, with Fairfield. So I think this team, well, you don't want to limp into the playoffs with 3 straight losses. That would be bad. I don't think it's going to happen. So right now, I'm not too concerned about this team moving forward.
All right, continuing with women's soccer, the MAC postseason starts this Sunday. We don't know who Quinnipiac will face yet, but do you guys think that their season could be over by our next show?
Yeah, truthfully, I don't think it really matters who they play. I think we've both narrowed this down. It's either going to be Ryder or Marist, but regardless, I think they are playing by our next show, and that's because let's look at obviously everything we just referenced about the defense, how good it's been. Defense ultimately will win you a championship, but let's look at these 2 head-to-heads this season. Ryder and Marist. In the Marist game, it was a 1-0 loss, but they outshot Marist 16-2. Some might call it unlucky. Some might call it a failure to finish in front of net. I'm more on the unlucky side of things. The Marist goalie had again, the game of her life. 8-1 shots on goal, and of course, the 1 shot on goal the Marist gets, it goes in. Same thing with Ryder. They outshot Ryder 30-9, 15-5 on target. This is not a situation that concerns me. I think wherever this game is played, it'll be an away game for the Bobcats. But if you take a look at the head-to-heads for Quinnipiac against both of these sides, it's really been, if not even, Quinnipiac has maybe been better, just they haven't been able to find the goal. It's with this defense, I mean, you can look at the track records too. Monmouth has been running this conference for forever, and it's not a surprise that every single year they're on top of the conference in goals allowed per game. It's a trend, I think we can call it this by now, is that defense is what will get you far in the tournament. And when we look at the offensive statistics from these 2 games, Quinnipiac's been just fine. They just haven't been able to finish in front of net, but that's traditionally not something that continues throughout the season.
Yeah, you know how much I love defense. You kind of, when you said defense wins championships, that might as well be my motto if I was a head coach. And I like that this team has that in spades, the defense and the goaltending. Ryder and Marist are both tough teams. Like you said, they lost those games earlier this year, but they were close. The fact that they outshot them so tremendously really does give me some confidence moving forward in one round of a playoff game. You know, I'm not going to make any guarantees and say they're going to, go all the way just yet, but I absolutely think they can win a playoff game because they play well in those games. A little bit more luck going their way. They can win that game against Marist. It'll probably be at Marist and Poughkeepsie. I think that's a team they match up against. They have almost the same record. I think it's a toss-up, but Quinnipiac, if they go in, they win against Siena, I think they got a chance. I think they'll be playing after our next show.
Agreed.
All right, you just heard what Will and Tom had to say. Now let's see what Roberto Casillas and I said a few weeks back.
They're going to make it, and I think they're going to go 6-3-1. Listen, I don't think this team is going to lose a single game of the last 4 they have. I think they're going to beat Manhattan and St. Peter's fairly easily, and I think they're going to tie to either Iona or Siena.
Record 11-6, but I also kind of said
Okay.
the same thing. 3rd in the MAC. First of all, Marist and Fairfield still have to play each other, so they're either going to, unless they tie that, one of them's going to win or lose to each other. And then Fairfield still has to play Monmouth and Ryder. So, everyone, we have women's soccer senior defender Kylie Lance on the desk with us. Kylie, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Kylie.
All right, well, Kylie, the team's defense, you've already said, it's kind of been a hallmark of the team's success this season, and you've been a big part of that. So what do you think is the one key that's helped make this defense so good so far?
Well, I think our goalie, the freshman Megan, she's been a really big help, just kind of being a presence behind us, and she's really vocal, so that's helpful. And then to my left, we have Mackenzie Tibble, and my right is Hannah. And we've been playing together now for 3 years, so it's kind of like that chemistry that we have between the 3 of us is really helpful.
Kylie, this defense there's a lot of young players with veteran traits, it seems like. Obviously, we mentioned the defensive records a couple times already on the show. You obviously, as a senior, as a leader, how has your role changed over the years to now kind of go from the student to the teacher?
It's definitely been a learning curve. Our assistant coach, Sarah Tompkins, has been really helpful with me. She's been working with me to kind of like be the bad guy. With so many freshmen, it's important that someone kind of steps up and shows them the way, because it's a really big part of our team, and we have 11 freshmen, and we need them to buy into the culture really quickly. And thankfully, they're a really great group of girls, so it was no problem, and they made my job super easy.
So we debated the team's playoff chances. I'm sure you probably have a few thoughts on that, but what would you pinpoint maybe as the biggest key for this team to have a deep postseason run?
I think that our biggest key is just finishing those chances and staying positive. We are creating a lot of chances, like you said, and I think that our game on Wednesday against Siena is more important just with building that momentum and that confidence so that when we go into the playoffs, we're kind of on a roll as opposed to trying to dig ourselves out of a hole.
It's probably going to be either Ryder or Maris, two games that you played close but ultimately lost earlier in the season. What are the key adjustments, regardless of who it is, that you're going to make going forward?
Coincidentally, those were two of the better games that we played on paper. We just happened to lose. So I don't think that we have to make too many adjustments tactically wise. Again, it's just finishing those chances and being clinical when we're in the 18.
Thanks, Kylie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kylie. Well, it's time for our first break, but when we come back, we'll move into men's soccer and discuss both the ice hockey teams. Stay with us.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
One in 3 adults has pre-diabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your favorite brother, your other brother, you, your football buddy, your football buddy, you, the boss's boss. If 1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes, that means it could be you, your barber, your barber's barber.
Nice work.
Thanks.
You, your plumber,
Breathe right into your foot.
your plumber's masseuse.
Yes.
You, your dog walker,
On your left!
your cat jogger. Or you, your co-pilot, your co-pilot's co-pilot. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org to know where you stand.
Touchdown! Oh, did you see that? Whoa, we scored? Yeah, we scored going to the playoffs. I can't believe I missed that. Every time I'm buzzed, I spend too much time on my phone. What? I should take your phone away. No. I'll call for a ride. Hey, why does my face look like that?
I'm playing with these new face filters.
Okay, you know what? Yep, that's mine. I'm gonna need that back. No. Kevin!
Welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us. Now we talked women's soccer, let's kick it over to the men's team. This weekend, Quinnipiac fell 2-1 to Iona. Evan Whalen didn't enter the game until the 56th minute. He was able to get the Bobcats on the board, but clearly it wasn't enough. Do you guys agree with the decision to keep Whalen on the bench for so long?
See, Tom, this is an interesting question. I don't, but I understand, and I'll tell you why. The two players that maybe you could say played in place of him, Bragasen, we all know how talented he is, the freshman, skilled on the ball, excellent flair on the ball. He's a nightmare to outside backs anywhere. Evan Hughes is a little more of a ball-winning midfielder, kind of stands over set pieces, that kind of thing. And so it makes sense. That said, did Eamon Whalen not sit a chunk of the non-conference schedule so he can be rested for conference play? Is this not the exact kind of game that you rest Eamon Whalen for? This is your bona fide goal scorer. This is the one player in your 11 that you can send out on the team sheet and not have to worry about him, regardless of the matchup. I understand that Eric DaCosta referenced tactics and whatnot. This is a player who, in my opinion, that doesn't matter because he is so talented that it doesn't matter who the opponent is. He'll find a way to find his pockets of space and get things done. He is the one player who you don't need to worry about who he's going against or what the matchups are or whatnot because that's just how talented he is. Iona's track record for this game was they were the best defensive team in the conference, 17 goals in 14 games up until this point, which is an incredible record. And then you have the 6th highest goal scorer in program history and you leave him on the bench to the 60th minute because of a matchup. I understand it to an extent, but just for me personally, the magnitude of this game and the ability that Eamon Whalen has, no matter who he's playing against, it doesn't make sense. I understand why, but I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I really hate agreeing with you on so many things, but I gotta say right now, I'm not sure I get this entirely either, because Whalen, like you said, this is the games you sit him earlier for. He ended up scoring in this game, and the Quinnipiac, that came after they were in a 2-0 hole. If he was playing, maybe they weren't in a 2-0 hole. I understand that Asen and Svekula and the others, they're great options too, but they don't have the pedigree or the fear factor that Whalen does. I don't think teams want to face Eamon Whalen, but they might take their chances with a freshman. Whalen, he was the MAC Player of the Year a year ago. He ended up scoring in this game. Iona, they're a very good defensive team, but that also means they should probably be the team that you're using him against.
Exactly.
I can't say I agree with playing your best player only for 34 minutes. I get it situational. I don't want to speculate too much into soccer tactics because it's not really my strong suit. But nonetheless, 34 minutes in a game you're already down 2-0 to a really good defensive team. I do think you got to play him a little bit more than that.
And not to mention a win in this game, 3 points in this game moves you into alone in second place, and that's a first-round bye spot. So it doesn't make too much sense to me. I understand the reasoning behind it, but the decision I'm not too sure.
Well, that wraps up fall sports for the night, so let's dive into winter. Last year, we saw Andrew Shortridge take over for Keith Petrozelli at net midway through the season. Now Shortridge is in the AHL, and Petrozelli stands as the clear starter this season. This Sunday, he recorded his first shutout of the season against Vermont. Will, Tom, do you expect good play from Petrozelli for the rest of the season?
Well, Shannon, I'd love to say yes, because I think the thing this team needs more than anything right now is a good backbone, strong goaltending. The defense is a little suspect, and Petrozelli has a lot to prove. But right now, I've got to see a little bit more before I'm going to say with confidence that this is going to continue. Through 2 years with Petrozelli, we've known him kind of be inconsistent. He's had some great moments. That game against Boston College last year was fantastic. But he's also had some soft goals. He's sometimes a little slow post to post. Sometimes he struggles with rebound control. He's incredibly physically gifted. He's got a good glove hand too, but sometimes just the consistency is not always there. So I do want to see a little bit longer before we move on. I like that his 2 last games are probably his 2 best games of this season, Vermont and Maine, and maybe there's a little bit of confidence moving forward there. But that said, they're not ECAC hockey level opponents, so I do want to see what he can do against an A-grade opponent before we anoint him, fully arrived in terms of goalies.
Right, and tentatively I do agree with you. A little bit hesitant to do so, but I think the other thing that we have to point out is that it's a phrase that you like to use so often. If you have 2 goalies, you have no goalies. And that's what Keith Petrozelli's Quinnipiac career has been since he set foot on campus. He's been splitting weekends, and he's quite literally been splitting games with Andrew Shortridge when he was here. I don't know if you remember back in Petrozelli's freshman year, he'd get 30 minutes, Shortridge would get 30 minutes. That's not how you manage goaltenders. He hasn't been that kind of high potential guy that everyone saw him as when he stepped foot on campus, and I think that's a large part of the reason why, is because he never had the chance to get his feet wet. And although I'm not ready, like you are, to go and say yes, like he's the guy, he's going to be the number one, he's going to play out of his mind, he's going to play this throughout the season, I'm also a little hesitant to write him off because of what his past has suggested, simply because this is the first time we're going to get to see him in that solid number 1 role, and that can always do wonders for a goalie.
Yeah, I think another big key for this moving forward is going to be the defense, because last year, Andrew Shortridge had the benefit, and he was also just a great goalie, let's put that out there, but he also had the benefit of a terrific defense in front of him. And this year, Petrozelli doesn't have that. A lot of his goals earlier this year have been rebounds that the defense hasn't scooped up. They've gone back in the net. So that's another thing to keep moving forward. If Petrozelli can do this against an ECAC hockey opponents, we'll reevaluate then.
Right, I don't think it's a coincidence that his best games have come when he gets both starts in the weekend, and let's not forget, he wasn't a 3rd-round pick for no reason.
Last year, Odin Tufto led the Bobcats in points. This year, he still leads the team in points right now, but he hasn't scored a goal. There are 5 games into the season. Are you guys concerned?
Well, if we had panic meters for this one, I don't even think my answer would register on panic meters. I am no concerns of Odin Tufto right now for 3 reasons. 1, this team has terrific goal-scoring depth. Ethan Lay has 2 goals as a freshman. Skylar Brindamore has been great. Wyatt Bongiovanni's been fantastic. So they have the goal-scoring depth. It's not a problem that he's not scoring. 2, Tufto, if you look at his game, he's not really a natural goal scorer first. He's more of a born playmaker. He succeeds by passing, great vision. He's good in the corners, and he's doing all those things. And 3rd, if you watch the games and you watch the film, you'll see that he is getting into those greasy, gritty areas, and he's just doing everything but getting the puck in the net. He's not the biggest guy at 5'7", but one of the best things about his game is that he's not afraid to get in those areas and shoot the puck. And he did that in the last couple games. He's hit some posts. He's got a couple go wide. He might be squeezing the stick a little tight. It's all going to go in eventually. He's playing good hockey. It's just a little bit of bad luck so far, but he still has 7 points. That's not acting he's playing poorly. I am not at all concerned about Tufto.
If there is one thing that I'm not concerned about with Odin Tufto, it's his goal-scoring ability. I mean, this guy, we've seen it. We know he knows how to put the puck in the back of the net. And even if, the goals will come, even if they don't. Like you said, 7 points on 7 assists. He's a +4. He still has a positive impact. And not to mention, he's playing on a line with Weidbon Giovanni and Ethan DeYoung, who, as you mentioned, are two of the more gifted goal scorers on the team, maybe even in the conference. If it's true that he's trying to shift his game from more of a goal scorer approach to a puck mover facilitator kind of deal, that's fine, because they don't need him to go out and score 15, 20 goals a season like he has in the past. The goals will come for Odin Tufto, like I said. I'm not worried. You're not worried. The panic meters are ice cold blue right now. But even if I want to put out there, even if he isn't scoring goals, it's still not an issue because he's still taking a positive impact on the game.
Yeah, and even when we say Tufto's not a natural goal scorer, he is actually second among active players in this team in goals.
Right.
You know, like
and that's in part due to the fact that over half the roster is freshmen. But still a point.
But he is, he's going to be one of the premier goal scorers in this team. I'm not worried about it at all. He's going to be A-okay.
Right.
Well, the Bobcats will travel out west for their next matchup, taking on Arizona State for the weekend. Last year, Quinnipiac beat Arizona in the NCAA tournament. The Sun Devils are out for revenge, and they made that clear on Twitter, tweeting Taylor Swift lyrics at the Bobcats. But this is the Bobcats' first real test this season. How do you think they'll do?
You want this one or me? I'll tell you.
Fine. Yeah, you got it.
I think they split. And I understand that Quinnipiac is a better team. Arizona State is not even getting votes in the USCHO poll, but I think they split for 3 reasons. The first one is that the decor, as much as experiences they've had, last year especially, it's still so young. Carlos Chuksta is a senior, Peter Deliberatore is a sophomore, but there is nobody else in that kind of defensive group that have played. I understand Zach Metz has played very well so far this season, but it's a very, very young group still. The other reason is that Arizona State, the strength of this team is absolutely the forward group. I think Johnny Walker is one of the best wingers in the entire country. He is so talented. 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points on the season so far. Tyler Bush and Brett Gruber, both for this team, had excellent seasons last year. They've gone off to slow starts, but you can't leave them alone anywhere. And then the captain, Brinson Pasiknuk, he's a defenseman who is an offensive mind first. So this team knows how to put pucks in the back of the net, and their Achilles heel has kind of been the defense. I don't know how well that young decor and Arizona State's forwards will clash with each other. The other reason, too, is I think it has to be said, it may be a cop-out, but the travel. Quinnipiac doesn't travel further west than Cornell, and now they're taking a trip to Arizona.
Quinnipiac's never lost this team. That's not going to change. The 2017-18 team, that's not a loss. The 2017-18 team that was panned as one of the worst, they came to Arizona State, and they won and they tied. They'll be able to handle this just fine. Johnny Walker is tremendous goal scorer. No argument there. And Paschnuk is going to probably have an NHL future. Greg Powers is a great coach, but this team doesn't have the depth that Quinnipiac has. It doesn't have the pedigree that Quinnipiac has. It doesn't have the elite goaltender that it had last year with Joey Decord. I think was a huge part of their success. And I'm not worried about QU's travel in this right now because they're the better team. ASU's not even getting USCHO votes right now. Quinnipiac's getting the top 10, and we're finding ways to nitpick them at times. They're a top 10 team. They're going to go in. They're going to take care of business because they're the better team, quite frankly. They face tougher competition routinely. They've won. Arizona State, they haven't proven anything to me yet this year.
I wouldn't be surprised if they won both games. Obviously, they're a better team, as you mentioned. But this Arizona team, the forward group, is so talented that they can absolutely go and steal a game, I think.
We'll see.
All right, guys, we'll stick to the ice, but let's switch to the women's team. The Bobcats started ECAC play today. They went into it with a winning non-conference record of 4-1-1. Guys, what could this record do for the team going into conference play?
Well, winning is nice, but at the same time, this doesn't do a ton for conference play, because you got to go and actually upset some of the people in your conference. Winning is great because this is a young team. They have a lot of new pieces that have to gel, but ECAC Hockey is a preeminent hockey conference. There's 3 or 4 top 10 teams in the USCHO top 10 poll. So until we see them upset one of those guys, that's when we'll say, this team is legit in ECAC Hockey. But that said, beating Sacred Heart 11-0, that still has got to feel good.
You're right. For the sake of redundancy, I won't say too much. I don't think it does much. It's nice to have that record, but it doesn't do much, especially when you look at their next 3 games, and it's 3 of the more tough teams in the entire country. Like you said, beating Sacred Heart by combined 11-0 is great, but those are the kind of games that you don't really learn much about your team, to be honest with you, because you're just so outclassing the opposition by so much. I think they went and played Princeton tonight and lost 3-1. I think they learned more about their team than they did in that Sacred Heart series.
Well, the team played number 6 Princeton today, losing 4-2. They also take on number 3 Cornell and Colgate over the weekend. Guys, what will their record be at the end of the week?
I think they play well over the course of the ECAC season. I think they get a postseason berth without sweat, to be honest. That said, they start the season, ECAC Conference Hockey season 0-3. And that's because Princeton is tough, Cornell is tough, Colgate is tough. Not only that, but you're traveling there. I mean, is there a worse draw that this Quinnipiac team could have gotten to start their conference season? These are three of the toughest teams in the country. And not only do you have to play them, but you have to travel to their place. This is very, very difficult for a team that had its fair share of struggles last season. Like I said, I don't think they have a problem securing a playoff spot. This is a better team than last year's. That said, these are three of the top 15 teams in the nation. I don't think they win a game.
They're going to go 1-2 because they're going to beat Colgate.
Okay.
I like what I saw from them against Princeton tonight. They were tied 1-1 after 2 periods. The shots were even. They were firing a lot of shots on goal. Cornell's a real tough ask. That's a top 10 program and all ECAC team members all over their roster. But Colgate, I think they might be able to beat them. They're picked 4th. Quinnipiac picked 7th. I think Quinnipiac's a little bit better than that, perhaps. And for what it's worth, after this stretch, I think Quinnipiac wins at least 3 of its next
100%.
5. So after that, they'll still be in good shape. It's a tough draw right now. I think they'll get one, though. They're off to they got something special this year.
Well, it's time for another break, but when we come back, we'll give you our final roars. Don't go away.
Hey, Julia, are you ready to play band with us? I'm going to play my clarinet.
And Elmo's going to play his drum. Drum loud.
Oh, well, you know what to do, Julia.
Julia knows.
Mm-hmm. With Julia's autism, loud sounds can be too much.
But she still loves to make music. Play band.
Early screening for autism can make a lifetime of difference. Find out more at screenforautism.org.
I'm Jenny Garth. And as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. This is unacceptable, and something Feeding America is working to solve. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States, including yours. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
145 over 92.
180 over 111.
I had a heart attack and a cardiac arrest and then a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
Lowering your high blood pressure could save you from a heart attack or stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
Now I'm, trying to get better, stronger than ever.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzzed and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. We've reached the end of our show, so it's time for our final roars. Take it away, Will.
When Rashawn Dowley graduated at the end of last season, head coach Eric DaCosta was faced with a tall task, literally, replacing the 6'2", 190-pound All-MAC first-team selection. Many of us questioned if DaCosta's offense would be nearly as potent as it was a year ago, and the answer evidently was yes. We all knew Eamon Whalen was going to be a force to be reckoned with, but it's the forwards behind him that have made the difference, namely the freshman duo of Tomasz Vakula and Brog Hassan. Vakula is a clinical finisher with sneaky good feet, and though his role changes whether or not Whalen is on the pitch, it doesn't matter. He's tied for the team lead in goals and just won MAC Rookie of the Week for a goal and an assist against Monmouth. As for Austin, he's a magician with the ball on his foot, and his combination of flair and technique is good enough to give any outside back nightmares. And he's the kind of player that can consistently create a chance out of nothing. Rashawn Dowley is off to the MLS, but for Eric DaCosta, it hardly makes a difference because his Bobcats have it skipped a beat.
We've been over a lot of what the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team isn't. But let's talk about something this team has a lot of. That's scoring depth. Rand Pecknold said that in his 26 years as head coach of the program, this might be the second deepest group of forwards that he's been able to coach. This team rolls 4 lines. 9 players have scored already, and that doesn't even include Odin Tufto, Alex Whalen, and Will Falstrom, who will all be scoring plenty of goals sooner or later. Ethan Lay already has 2 tallies and has shown a quick release. Skylar Brindamore has fit in seamlessly as a rookie. Nick Germain has untapped his potential now, given a larger role. Joe O'Connor, Mike Lombardi, and Desi Burgard scored a combined 11 goals all of last year. They already have 4 through 5 games this year. And of course, Wyatt Bongiovanni has become an elite-level goal scorer in just his second year. There are so many players on this team that can score, and maybe the defensive goaltending is still developing, but if the Bobcats keep scoring goals like this, they will keep winning hockey games.
Well, that's all we have for tonight. Special thanks to the crew for everything they do behind the scenes. Be sure to check out our website at q30tv.com and qbsn.com. For Will and Tom, I'm Shannen Tierney. Have a good night.